I'm Lisa Federico, and this is Inside Northwest Columbus. After spending decades in corporate marketing, I traded boardrooms for backyards because the best stories are happening right here at home. Every week, you'll meet entrepreneurs, creatives, and everyday neighbors doing extraordinary things across Worthington and Northwest Columbus. So let's jump into this week's conversation. Welcome to Inside Northwest Columbus. I'm your host, Lisa Federico. And of course, November starts the holiday season. And our theme for this month is all about being thankful as well as grateful. And I am very grateful to welcome my guest, Jennifer Schrappe of Chrysalis Enterprises and Heal Your Money Stuff to the show. Welcome. Thanks so much for being here.
Lisa, thanks so much for having me.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. Tell me a little bit more about Chrysalis and about Heal Your Money Stuff. Both of your companies help people deal with life challenges, which I thought was very appropriate given that we're coming up on the holidays. And sometimes the holidays tend to push us to excess. Maybe we overeat, maybe we overspend, maybe we overthink. And so I'd like to learn a little bit more about how you came to be. And how Chrysalis Enterprises and Heal Your Money came to the table.
Excellent. This is exciting. So I've been a counselor for over 20 years, and for a long time it was just me, or maybe I was connected to an organization for a few years here and there. But then I branched out on my own and founded my own practice. And then even then it was still just me for a while. And then I thought it would be great to have a team, be able to offer a variety of services and have a variety of perspectives and make more of a difference in the community. And so thus Chrysalis Enterprises was born right in COVID time. So we were very, very familiar with telehealth. And then it was shortly after that the idea for Heal Your Money Stuff started to germinate. So with Heal Your Money, it's looking at how when there are ongoing financial struggles, financial patterns, overspending or not being able to stick to a budget or not being able to make a budget, or just anything where there is not healthy spending, and there's no shaming, there's no judgment. It's just we're calling a spade a spade. It's not consistently healthy spending. When that's happening, there's emotional stuff involved. In fact, when there are unhealthy patterns in any area of life, there's emotional stuff involved. And so, Lisa, I'm so passionate about helping people to understand that so that not only can they stop beating themselves up, they can get unstuck, improve their understanding, and then get on a better path with compassion, not because they're trying to kick their own butts into gear. No, it's this chill, compassionate way to enjoy healing. So here at Chrysalis, now we are up to 14 clinicians, which is exciting and scary and a lot and amazing.
Right.
And we have a fantastic team offering varieties of different therapies, and most of the team, most clinicians are taking new clients, and they work in person and or telehealth. So people have those options as well. We take a variety of insurances. So that's the deal with Chrysalis. We're located in Worthington, but we also have an office in Hilliard, and we have somebody using space in North Columbus, and we have a clinician working out of a school. So we're spread out a bit, right, and we're there making a difference in the community.
That's wonderful. Tell me about your thoughts about grace over guilt. For whatever reason, the holidays, I think, give us a reason or give us emotional turmoil, right? Like you had just said, that leads us to maybe do some things that maybe are beyond the boundary. For example, overeating, overspending. How do we and should we look at this holiday time with grace over guilt?
First of all, and that's an excellent question. First of all, it's being aware that the guilt is there. And it could be guilt, it could be pressure. Like there's so much pressure, right? Like we see a Hallmark movie and we think, well, why can't my house look like that? Or why can't my holidays be like that? Why can't the snow start falling right at that pivotal moment in my life like it does in that movie? I mean, that's a silly example, but it's this picture perfect, my life. We can fall into the trap thinking that my life should at least have pieces of that, or I'm not doing it right, or it's not going to be special enough, or it's not going to be meaningful enough to my kids or to my loved ones, or I'll be screwing something up. Like if it doesn't look like that, I'll be screwing something up. I mean, I've certainly struggled with those kinds of things. And I know that it's, this is the most wonderful time of the year, right? Like the song says. And so we get this chance at the end of the year, or we have to wait and try a year later to maybe get it right. So there can be so much pressure. And when there is pressure and we don't live up to that expectation, then there can be guilt. But instead, if we recognize, again, that inner emotional turmoil and we sort through it, and that doesn't mean that you need to have a therapist right there to do it with you. If you sort through it and you get an understanding of what's going on inside, and then get some clarity on what is actually important to you. Like, was there this particular dish that there was always on the table at the Christmas meal, but the ones who made that dish have, God bless them, they've gone on, and you always hated that dish. Like you never liked it. You never liked it, but it felt like you always had to make it because this is this Christmas meal, so therefore it has to be there or you're not doing it right. That's one example where we can fall into a trap of thinking that we have to continue some tradition that now it doesn't have to go on, and it's okay. There comes the grace. So instead of guilt that, oh my gosh, does that mean I'm discrediting the memory of my family member or trying to act like what was important to them, it doesn't matter at all ever. And no, that's not it. It's more so the holidays are for those who are here. And what's important to those who are here. And we might include things to remember our loved ones, of course, but it doesn't have to be this guilt-ridden thing. So when we have that awareness of what we are doing out of guilt or pressure, then we can do some work there, sort through, get some clarity, and instead take action based on what's really important. And have the freedom in doing so, and have the peace. And therein comes the grace.
Yeah. One of the things I struggle with is, come the holiday season, I have pictures in my head of how the holiday is going to go and what events I'm going to be attending and what dinner is going to look like. And it never works out the exact way, right, that you think that it is, for a multitude of different reasons. But the anxiety that comes from this picture of the holidays are supposed to be perfect. And of course, the holidays are never perfect. They're just not. That, I think, in itself is a source of anxiety for so many people who maybe place this expectation on themselves that the holidays are supposed to be this. And when they don't stack up to this, we're left with that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so right there, pressure and anxiety.
Yeah.
Pressure and anxiety. And when there's that intense pressure, when there's that anxiety, those are signs that something is not lined up in a healthy, grace-fueled way inside. Maybe it's old stuff from past Christmases. Maybe it's expectations from things we've seen in on media or TV, movies, things like that, or what we see other friends, family members
Social
doing.
media.
Yes. And so when those are pressuring us, it's good to sit down and just really think, okay, yes, those are beautiful table arrangements, or those are beautiful decorations. Do I want those? Those are adorable crafts that people can do with kids. I'll tell you what, between you and me and everybody listening, I hate crafts.
Not crafty.
Oh my gosh. Like, I have never been good about sitting down and doing crafts, but taking my kids to go have experiences, that I love to do. And we talk about it, and I help them really take it in with all their senses and just experience it more deeply. But sitting there making, I don't know, snowmen using cotton balls, oh my gosh.
Not your thing.
I'd rather be scrubbing a toilet. Like, it just is not fun. And it's okay. It's okay that I didn't want to sit down and do that with my kids, even if they wanted to. It doesn't mean that I'm failing their holiday experience if I'm not sitting there making cotton ball snowmen with them or something like that. So it's also about giving yourself permission to decide what is really important to your family and what your schedule allows. Like, let's say it's a time where there's a lot of financial stress, so the means are slim to do the special things. Let's say that there are health issues going on that require extra attention, more medical appointments. Let's say that there is stuff going on at work that this is a season where you have to stay in the grind. You wish you didn't, but you have to. And let's say that there are other constraints on time or resources. Okay, that doesn't make you a bad enjoyer of the holidays. I mean, unless you're creating situations that keep you from really, engaging with the family or really taking in, the holiday activities. That's a whole nother thing. But if there are honest, real constraints, then okay, that's what it is. So then you do what you can, and that's okay. And those can still be special experiences.
Before we get back to the show, I've got to tell you what's coming up in December. Our giving issue is packed with incredible stories about giving back to our community and the incredible people and companies who make Northwest Columbus shine. And here on the podcast, you'll hear conversations that leave you inspired and proud to call this community home. Hit subscribe so you don't miss out, and snag your free digital copy in the show notes. Yeah, so it sounds like just giving yourself the permission to not be perfect during the holidays goes an awfully long way.
Absolutely.
And I want to kind of take the three areas that we've talked about. Like, let's talk about overspending, right? Because that's, I think, a big one during the holidays. Overeating is another one. I'd like to talk about that one. We all have these goals for ourselves, and we all come into the holidays thinking that, these are the way things are going to be. Getting back to this pressure about spending. And, we see everything on social media, and we see everybody doing all these crafts and blah. Tell me about how, as someone who might overspend, right, what are some things that people can do to kind of think through before they actually make the mistake or make the overspending become a bigger issue, especially during this time?
Sure. Yeah, this is a time where overspending is so common. I would say, and I've been an overspender during the holidays for sure, so I can identify with this. I would say start off looking at the budget, or if you don't have a budget, coming up with one.
Yep.
So looking at the budget, just coming up with a spending plan. All right. You've got a decent idea, or you should be able to come up with, not should as in you should, but hopefully you can come up with a good idea of what's going to be coming in. what money's going to be coming in and what's going to be going out. And if there are ways to up what's coming in without, keeping your nose to the grindstone 24/7. All right. So be aware of that. Okay. And then think about what you can do with that, and that it's okay to stay within those constraints. And when we start with the budget and also stay aware of what's going on in our emotional system. So if that pressure is coming in, if that guilt is coming in, I think specifically about divorced families where one parent might be trying to make up for the divorce or not being in the child's life 24/7. That's hard. That's really emotional. That's a prime situation where overspending could occur. Okay. But it starts with the emotion. It's not because the child is saying, hey, mom or dad, I'm not going to believe that you love me unless you buy me all of these things.
Yeah.
Okay. It's going to start from that emotional pain, the guilt, the pressure, the anxiety. So sorting through that, either using your own practices or working with a professional. My goodness, professionals would be happy to help keep things in line during the holiday season because it is so fraught with stress. So being aware of those motivations, what is driving an inclination to overspend, potentially overspend, overdo it, okay? And when we get within those healthy boundaries and when we have processed whatever emotional underpinnings could be interfering, then the creativity kicks in. And we are more open to free things that we could do or lower cost ways to procure a Christmas gift or make some special holiday experience happen that maybe we wouldn't have thought of before because we thought that money was our only answer.
Yeah. I love talking about putting together a budget for the holidays because that in itself can solve so many issues as long as you stick to the budget. But I love what you said also about the emotional components because, for example, if you're in a situation where you have family members who overspend because that's just what they do during the holidays, you might feel the pressure to match that. Or let's say you have a spouse that maybe you agree to what you're going to spend, but the spouse maybe or your partner doesn't stick to that.
Yeah.
Again, it builds all that emotion that helps you sometimes maybe get off the rails. But sticking to a plan can help at least alleviate, right, the unknown or the spending that will happen if you don't plan for it. I guess
that's right.
What I'm saying.
That's right.
Are there other things as well? For example, how do you coach some of your clients in Heal Your Money for dealing with some of the emotions that help to catapult us into an overspending mode?
Oh, we go right to those emotions, Lisa. We go right to those emotions and we call them out. I train my clients to become more aware of what's happening inside. And even if it's not initially obvious which emotional parts are at play, and when I say emotional parts, I mean really any emotion. So anxiety, stress, imposter syndrome, people pleaser, impulsive part, freak out part, just really anything emotional we think of as a part of our emotional system. A lot like the movie Inside Out, if people have seen that.
Great movie.
And so I would take my client straight to the emotional, hey, what's going on there? List those emotions. And if it's not immediately obvious, as far as being able to name the emotion, then we can tell by how our body is feeling. And we can tell by, are we feeling down? Are we feeling like we're trudging through mud? Do we feel like we're on the brink of tears, but we're not sure why? Do we have a pain somewhere or a pressure somewhere that doesn't make sense? Usually it's in the torso, the chest, or the stomach. Although one time I had a client with a twinge in her shoulder, and she was a young, healthy female, and there was no reason that she knew of why she would have this shoulder pain. And we sat with it and examined it, and there was some emotional thing tied to it, and we processed that, and the pain was gone. Like, the body will tell us what is going on. And if I may share an example.
Absolutely.
So there's a loved one in our extended family who's going through a very serious situation with potential long-term repercussions. And it's heartbreaking, and I can't go into details, but it's just absolutely stress-inducing and heartbreaking. And I've been supporting this person and giving guidance and maybe called to testify. Anyway, yesterday morning I noticed this heaviness and this critical part. I call it the "you're doing it wrong" part. And this will show up during the holidays. And for me, Lisa, when it shows up, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. If I'm taking a drink of water, if I'm brushing my hair, if I'm responding to an email, it's telling me, it's in my ear saying, "You're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong." It doesn't give guidance on what I should do to do it right.
Right.
It's not helpful. It's just sure that I'm doing it wrong. And I'm like, what is going on with this part? And I had awareness as to what it was connected to. So finally I sat down with it and was just listening to it, because we can engage with these parts. We can talk with them and they will talk back. Doesn't mean that we're schizophrenic. And I was listening to it, and it's just railing on me about this and that and the other. And then finally we got to the root, and it said, "Jennifer, if you did or said the right thing, you could make that person's situation go away." Now, that's not true at all, because I don't have that kind of power in my loved one's situation. I have no level of power that could just make it go away if I did or said the right thing. It's not true. If there were truth to it, that'd be really hard. Yeah. But in this case, it's not true. It is like 95% out of my power. I'm not even sure if I'll be asked to be a part of it. So once the part expressed that, and it was very emotional because of the seriousness of what's going on. And so I was sitting there crying, and it was good though. It was this very cathartic. Yes, very cathartic, very releasing. Once the part expressed that, it shut up and left me alone.
Really?
So yes. So we got to the root of what it was actually upset about. And once it was heard, then it left me in peace.
So take me through this. For example, I have anxiety about the holidays because I have this vision in my head, right, that they're supposed to be perfect. So I obsess about dinner. I obsess about having the family over. I obsess about the gifts. I obsess about how the gifts look. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And it hits me like the day after Halloween and stays with me sometimes until March, because I'm back thinking, right? Why didn't you do this? You should have done this better. So as somebody who's dealing with this, right, take me through the emotion. Help me uncover why I'm thinking the way that I'm thinking.
Sure. So what I would recommend is that when you have, let's say, a half an hour, okay, that you sit down with that anxious part. And if it's like crushing you, breathe a little space. Okay, just imagine that as you exhale, it creates this buffer zone between you and the part. And I would say, visualize it. Often people can see,
visualize the feeling,
the anxious part. Okay, it might show up as an entity, it might show up as a blob or just a color, or it might show up as a frantic Lisa rushing around. Now, me, I don't see mine. I'm just aware of them, but most of my clients see theirs. Okay, so when you sit with it and you actually are open and curious. Now, if you sit with it like, anxiety, okay, come on out. I'm going to crush you. I'm going to grab a baseball bat and we're going to go to town here. If you actually are like, okay, anxiety, you're freaking out. I really want to see what's going on. And you sit with it and you really are open and curious. Because remember, the stuff it's saying about you is not 100% true. There might be a nugget of truth. There might be a nugget of truth to it. Like you would like the holidays to be really nice. That's true. But the rest of it, oh my gosh, if you don't wrap these presents right or design these decorations right or lay this table right, then you're letting everybody down. That's not true.
Right. But that is the voices that we tell ourselves.
That's right. That's the voice. That's the pressure. That's the anxiety. That's the stress. So, Lisa, when you sit down with that anxious part and just listen to it, it's probably going to lead you to some pretty misguided root statements like, you are failing everyone if you don't provide A, B, C, D all the way to Z. Or you are letting down your great grandmother who taught you how to do this and could do it with her eyes closed. You're failing her when she really wanted you to carry these traditions through. Or whatever those root beliefs may be. And once you write those down, and they may come with tears, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's catharsis. Once you write those down and you look at them on paper, like I literally wrote out that statement, you could make this whole thing go away if you did or said the right thing. I wrote it in all caps. I was like, wow, no wonder this part was so active, if it believes that.
Yeah.
But once we get to those root statements, then it takes so much of the intensity out of that emotional part because it's been heard. It's like a little kid, a little 3-year-old tugging on your pant leg. Mommy, mommy, mommy. You ignore the kid. Mommy, mommy,
right.
mommy, mommy. You turn to the child. What? The child stops saying mommy and tells you what the child needs, right? These parts are just like little kids.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And you bring up a great point that many times we tell ourselves things that just simply aren't true, but we believe them.
Yep.
Because we keep telling ourselves that. Mm-hmm. And this gets back to that whole thing about, really sitting with yourself and thinking through, how are you feeling? Why are you feeling this way? For me, it's a lot of the expectation that I have in my mind about how everything is going to look and feel. And then it never lives up to the expectation, right? Because we make it up to this big, huge, and again, we're not lying to ourselves, but we kind of are.
Yeah, in a way we are. It's not with intention though, right? It's not with intention. It's, again, out of the stress, out of the pressure.
Yeah. And I think too that sometimes we have the ability to tell ourselves, oh, it'll be just fine. For example, I'll go out and buy a new car for my husband for the holidays. It'll be just fine. So I'll make payments on it. It'll be just fine. And then, of course, March and June get here and you're like, oh my God, why did I do that, right? Sometimes we tend to gloss over the things that we do, not realizing maybe the repercussions that come later.
Yeah.
And it's easy to justify in the holiday season. But coming back to what you said about having a budget, right? And about maybe putting some things on paper as to how we're going to do things for the holiday. Having a plan seems like it would really cause a lot less stress for a lot of people.
Yeah. And I want people to know that they are allowed to have a plan. Even if it doesn't match up to what their parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles did, or what everybody else seems to be doing, they're allowed to make a plan that works for them.
Yeah.
They have permission.
Makes sense.
Okay. Doesn't have to look like a Hallmark movie.
Yeah. How do you work with people who find the holidays challenging simply because of other personalities, like family, right? That can really just put a damper, especially if you have someone who, just really gets your goat for whatever reason. And many times for some people, this is multiple people in their families or their acquaintances. How do you advise them to deal with these situations that come up, whether it's an event or holiday family gatherings? What are things that people can do to help give them a buffer so that they don't get so inundated in the feelings that come from some of the, I'll call it animosity maybe, that we might have between family members?
So family members who really bring the ugly, who bring ugly attitudes, who might even bring hate, criticism, who want to start things at the dinner table, sadly, who make it a sport of criticizing others. I would say, first of all, it's important to remember that they are not okay.
Yeah.
They are really not okay. And they are overtaken by whatever is causing that ugly behavior. Maybe they really are filled with that much hate. It could be. Maybe they are just trying to deflect attention from themselves by putting it on others. Oh, look at so-and-so over there, because they're so disgusted with themselves. They don't want anything coming at them. So better to just direct everything elsewhere, right?
Deflect.
Yeah. So first of all, keeping in mind that they just emotionally, they're sick. Emotionally, they are unwell, and not thinking of that as a way to be like, ha ha ha, I'm doing better than you. But instead, it can take a lot of the power out of that other person's game, so to speak, if we keep in mind that they are not well.
Didn't get the magazine at home? No problem. You can read it for free by signing up for our digital issues. Just head to the link in the show notes. And hey, if you're just listening to this episode, did you know you can watch it too? Catch the full video on YouTube, link below. So, like we said earlier, in devising a plan to help you deal with overspending, maybe you also come up with a plan, right, for how you're going to address how family members might make you feel in certain situations around the holidays. Going in with how you're going to feel about that, or some kind of a game plan might help so that you're not caught off guard. Or, for example, if you have a family member that just really irritates you during the holidays, right? And we all have them. Maybe putting a plan in place that says, you know what, I am not going to let this person, right, ruin my time with the rest of my family. I'm just going to, let what they say bounce off. Or talk with me a little bit about how to create that kind of a plan to help with that kind of emotion or anxiety.
Sure. So I believe that first it would be helpful to, again, sit down and do a little tally of what is stirred up within you when you are around that person. Okay. What are those emotions? What are those reactions? What are those thoughts? And being aware of those, sitting with those, and then keeping in mind that that person is doing whatever he or she is doing out of their own emotional stuff, their own brokenness, their own toxicity, their own anxiety, woundedness, whatever it may be. That's not how we were designed to operate. We were designed to operate out of love and creating peace and building bridges, not tearing other people down. That's not what this is supposed to be about. And the holidays with their increased stress, and then, there's grief because of loved ones we've lost, and that confounds things and can make them make them complicated for sure. So it can be a mixed bag. We can, when we're around family members we don't often see, we can be reminded of things from the past that perhaps were never really resolved, and it doesn't do any good to go back there, but you're aware of it and you feel it. So that's hard. That's painful. But keeping in mind that people, for the most part, do the best they can with what they have. And if the best they can do is to act in a toxic way, then it's okay, protect yourself. Mm-hmm. Do that emotional work ahead of time. And it doesn't have to be this long drawn out thing. Just sit with those parts and hear them out, because there'll probably be an angry part coming up. Why do we have to be around so-and-so? And there's probably a part, a vengeful part maybe, that really wants to stick it to them.
If I'm going to say this if they say that.
Right. If only I just say the right thing, that'll shut them up.
Right.
And maybe there's some grief worked in because of what the relationship used to be, if it was good before things went bad. On and on. Disgust. I mean, just there could be a variety of negative emotions. So being aware of those and giving those parts a voice, and then again, remembering that people usually do the best they can with what they have. And so if they are like severely limited and very down, they're not going to act in the best way.
Yeah.
And they may not care to try to act in the best way. And so we keep our boundaries. You know, we might let them into our house, but we're not telling them all our thoughts and fears. Mm-hmm. We're not telling them all about our lives. We tell them a little bit here, a little bit there, but we're not fully letting them in because they're not safe people and they don't care to try to become safe people. And we just treat them in a way that shows that they don't have that control over how we're feeling, and they don't have control over how everything is going to go. Mm-hmm. So we can still have a measure of peace around them. And if things are really going off the rails, we may need to pull them aside and let them know, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that. But if it's more so just kind of a little remark here and there, then showing that it doesn't get to you and that doesn't have to hijack everything, will go far. And that your peace is protected, even though they would really like to take it away from you.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about overeating for the holidays, because that is something that is on lots of people's minds, especially when you've worked so hard throughout the year. But then the holidays come and you've got cakes and cookies and desserts and whatever it is that's your thing, right? I'm not a big sugar person. I love pasta, bread, meat, like all the high calorie, high fat stuff. And then I obsess in January about how much I overdid it for the holidays. Is it similar to overspending, similar to dealing with, the stresses of the holidays, where putting a plan in place can help that?
I think it is similar. One difference, though, is that sugar is inherently addictive. Yeah. So just having sweets will most of the time make a person want more. Okay, because of the just inherent
chemical
addictive
makeup
properties of sugar. And in like refined processed carbohydrates, it's basically the same thing, that they are processed in a way to make your body want more. And this is something that I'm well familiar with, because it is something that I've struggled with all my life, where as a child, I turned to food to deal with some big feelings.
Again, coming back to the emotion.
Coming back to the emotion. Mm-hmm. So it starts with for me, it started with the emotional. But here in this country, we have plenty of overprocessed foods and sugary foods. And during the holidays, I think a big part of what happens is okay, this is a special time of year. This is the only time that I'll get to have this or that.
Right.
And so I need to get it now. And I can make up for it in January. I'll fix myself in January, okay? But now I need to go for it and have all of it. So it's the scarcity mentality, right?
Interesting.
Like in reality, if we want a certain cookie that usually comes out at Christmas time, my goodness, we can find it online. We can have it shipped in.
Right.
I mean, Harry and David's there.
Right. They're not going anywhere.
They're not going anywhere.
Yeah, but we're not thinking about those cookies or those things in July, or maybe some of us are, but we're thinking about it when it's all around us, and all of those, Christmas gifts come in, all the cakes and the cookies and all the wonderful things.
And I mean, it's comforting, and it's festive, and it's fun, and it gets people together.
Right.
Like, we can become so isolated, right? And so this is something that's getting people together. So there's that emotional component too. Yeah. This is I'm in the moment, and I'm enjoying with my people, and I'm enjoying these festivities, and there are Christmas carols playing, and we're all having so much fun. Isn't this nice?
Magical.
I really want to take it in. Oh wow, this is delicious. Let's have some more.
Right.
So there are multiple things that go into it, and there's no judgment. I mean, it's delicious. It's delicious food, and it's gorgeous, and it's special to have it around. And it feels good. It feels good. But then we pay a price.
Yeah.
And we get more sluggish, and we lose energy, and our health suffers for it. And if, in my case, it turned into a complete blown away food addiction and binge eating disorder. So in my case, that's what it became. And for me during the holidays, it was like, well, yeah, I mean, I can't not enjoy this. It would be awful. It would be torture. It feels like death to deny myself these very special things that we only have at Christmas. Again, we could have that at other times of the year. But it feels like this is the time. Enjoy it now. Yeah. It's so delicious.
And so what are some things that you do to get yourself through the holidays with grace, to protect yourself from that feeling that comes in January where you're like, oh my God, I totally overdid it?
What I would say is, just like with these other scenarios that we're discussing, before an event, if a person is concerned about overdoing it at an event, okay, beforehand, to sit down and notice what's going on inside. Is there this eager part that's like, oh, I can't wait to try all of the things. I can't wait. Let me at them. Is there a scarcity mentality? If I don't enjoy myself at this party, I will never get to have those things again. Yeah. That's very black and white.
Right.
That's very black and white. Is there any element of wanting to comfort oneself with excess eating during the holidays?
Getting back to that emotion again.
Back to that emotion. Now, if a person is at a party, cool, try all the things. Why not? That doesn't mean it has to be plateful after plateful after plateful, right?
Yeah.
Just try them all. And that could be enough.
Yeah.
That could be enough. If it's not enough and you're noticing this inner drive, this insatiability, and it's not a physical hunger, it's something else, then there's an emotional component there.
Yeah.
Which, again, so many people struggle with. And there's no judgment. There's no judgment. It's just, all right, let's call a spade a spade.
Makes sense. Tell us a little more. So Chrysalis is a counseling practice.
Counseling practice, yes.
So you help people with a variety of life challenges. But then you also have Heal Your Money stuff, which it goes back to that whole emotional component of why we overspend, just like the emotional component to why we overeat. But you're now expanding Heal Your Money stuff to be able to provide that program to employers who can then help their employees with those life challenges.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and therefore making happier employees, right? Because when employees have money issues, it kind of permeates through, right, the productivity of maybe the job that they
everything.
do. Yeah.
Yeah, it affects everything. It really does.
And then employers can then, or other organizations could even bring Heal Your Money stuff, that program, to their constituents or to their employees to help.
Yeah.
How can they get more information about that?
Sure. So the website is healmoneystuff.com.
Yeah.
And Heal Your Money Stuff is an initiative spearheaded by myself, a clinical counselor, and Brian Johnson, a money coach. Mm-hmm. And we've teamed up our efforts to put together an 8-week course, meeting for an hour at a time, an hour a week, live, to help people address what is going on inside that is affecting their spending. Because when there are ongoing financial struggles, financial patterns that are in a problematic area and are not improving, so these unhealthy patterns are continuing, then there's emotional stuff at play. And when I say emotional stuff, again, of course, I'm talking parts. So maybe there's an impulsive spending part. Maybe there's a fear of missing out part. Mm-hmm. Maybe there is a rebellious part that is not about to be controlled by being put on a budget. Mm-hmm. Because I was controlled in this other situation, maybe this other relationship, or growing up, I never really had a voice, and I was kind of trampled upon. And so I am not about to be controlled again by this entity called budget. Yeah. And it's twisted. I mean, a budget is a form of control, but it's something that the person comes up with. So it's not so that
in their control.
Right. So that rebellious part is misguided, but again, it's this self-protective reaction to something that's, an attempt at controlling. And those are just a few examples. Maybe there is a guilt-ridden spending part. I must spend this much on my children because I felt like I didn't give them enough of myself during the year. And so here it's Christmas time, or here it's their birthday, I'm going to make it up to them. Yeah. I mean, it's understandable. It's understandable. Mm-hmm. Like, parental guilt is such a common thing, right?
Right.
Like, I deal with it.
We all deal with it.
We all deal with it. But wrecking our budget is not the solution, even if it feels like it might be. Even if, the child is completely delighted, a few days later, it's going to be forgotten. Yeah. And then our budget is wrecked because we overdid it. So being aware of how the emotional components are driving the spending. That's what Brian and I teach. That's what we help people to understand so that they can get on a healthy, workable budget with peace, that they feel empowered to follow. They're not white-knuckling it.
Right.
They can actually follow it with chill and clarity of mind.
This was so fantastic, Jennifer. Thank you so much. I never really thought through the impact that emotions have in terms of what becomes outward facing in terms of overspending, overeating, over everything. I learned so much today. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. This has been great.
It was fantastic. To get more information about Jennifer and Heal Your Money Stuff, as well as Chrysalis Enterprises, please review the show notes. We have all the details there. And that concludes this week's episode of Inside Northwest Columbus. Until next time, we will see you right here. Take care.
Boxland Media. Think big.